Protests have erupted all across America following the fatal shooting of a woman who the Department of Homeland Security, which is the US version of the Home Office, I guess, says allegedly attempted to run over immigration and customs enforcement agents, known as ICE to you and I. Footage from the scene shows ICE agents approaching a car in the middle of the street. And as it attempted to drive off, allegedly, one of them points his gun at the driver, and at least 2 shots are heard to ring out. And the woman has now been identified as Renee Good. She was a mother of 3. She was married, and it comes as the administration, the Trump admin, ramped up immigration enforcement in Minnesota, which is home to the largest Somali population in the US. Tonight, this was the message from Vice President J.D. Vance.
This was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. Media wants to tell the truth. They ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers.
And this was the message from the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem.
Minnesota is a train wreck. It is corrupt, and it was under the leadership of Governor Walz and this mayor that they allowed it to happen, and they let criminals and illegals and people abuse programs and steal the money, and now they're allowing violence to go forward on the streets as well. But we've had almost over 100 times that these vehicles have been used to ram law enforcement officers.
And tonight we're also receiving reports that US Customs and Border Protection agents have shot 2 people in Portland in Oregon, that's on the west coast of America. The FBI are now leading that investigation, and the condition of the 2 people shot is currently unknown, but we'll bring you more on that as we get it. My panel are back with me now. Greg, what's your whole take on this? First of all, it is an absolute tragedy that a mother of 1 was gunned down in broad daylight. However, there are lots of other conversations to be had. What's your take?
Well, it is a tragedy, and it's sad, but I find it's amusing that the BBC and others describe her as mother of 3, and that might be true. But she's also a professional agitator, and she was at this ICE rally, not to peacefully protest, but to try to stop federal law enforcement from doing the job that they're hired to do, but also execute the laws that were passed by our legislatures. So look, it's amazing, and similar to what we see, Ben, in the UK, where the progressive left once again embracing the bad guys. You know, like the rape gangs in the UK, or the Venezuelan migrants, illegal migrants that are killing people. Why do they always embrace the bad guy and try to protect the criminals at the expense of the victims? It's really amazing.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just 1 click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Well, it's interesting you say that. There was a breaking story from the New York Post in the past 20 minutes saying that this woman, Renee Good, her name, was a Minneapolis ICE Watch warrior who trained to resist federal agents. That's according to the New York Post. The Post reports that Good works to, quote, document and resist ICE in Minnesota. She reportedly moved to Minneapolis last year and quickly connected with anti-ICE activists through her son's charter school. The charter school says it puts social justice first and involving kids in political and social activism. Somebody said she was a warrior, she died doing what was right, and she was trained against these ICE agents, what to do, what not to do. It's a very thorough training. So Angelina, she was a professional, by all accounts, this reporting from the New York Post, a professional protester. And my only argument is tonight, there's questions about why the ICE agent shot her. I think self-defense stands looking at the video. But as a parent, you've got 3 kids at home, you've got 3 babies at home. What are you doing going down and agitating armed law enforcement when your kids are at home?
Well, agitating armed law enforcement, necessarily, if she was doing that, I did see the video. It's not necessarily against the law. And did that?
It's not against the law. No,
it's not against the law. So I think the question is what is against the law, right? And at the end of the day, murder is against the law. And this guy did whip out his gun. Now, you talk a lot about having a National Guard presence or something similar in the UK, but you guys don't have weapons. Your police force don't have guns. So I think that's a bit different. I think what we're seeing here with ICE, and I've said this before, is the Stanford prisoner experiment, right? If you're familiar with that, it goes back where Stanford did an experiment with 24 individuals, males, and they assigned some as prisoners and some as the guards. And they ended up doing the trial for 2 weeks, and they had to end it early because of the psychological and physical abuse that the prisoners were inflicting on the students. Now, what we're seeing, this study is playing out in real time, is this authority is being granted to institutions like ICE, and they're getting trigger happy. That authority is compounding on, and they're almost given permission. Like, why didn't you shoot for the wheel? You were 2 feet away.
Hang on a minute, that's
a
split second.
You can't. Greg, my Uber driver said that. He said, why can he just shoot for the leg? I was like,
he shot.
Driving
he
a car,
aimed and shot for the head, though. You could have shot for the shoulder. You can aim. She wasn't driving that fast.
Driving a big SUV at me, I'm going to.
There is still a line between murder and not murder.
This is when you've got a gun. By the way, when you've got a gun, it's not the movies where you've got time to think, I'm going to shoot him in the kneecaps.
Well, if you're a trained professional, you should be able to. And someone who has a gun.
He executed all his, he actually followed all of his training. And so if you look at really what happened, you can have a different opinion on whether she was trying to kill him with her weapon, which was her truck, or was she just trying to get out of the way or escape. But either way, she's breaking the law. And according to the Section 111 of the Federal Penal Code, even if she wasn't guilty of attempted homicide, it was an actionable assault on a federal officer. That's a crime. So she was committing a crime today.
But what about the build-up to that? So what you see is you see the car pull up, you see a truck come up, officers get out and they start grabbing her door, saying, "Get out the vehicle! Get out the vehicle!" Like, that's a very aggressive way. Can you imagine if the state came down on you like that? How would you respond to that?
If she was in criminal activity, which she was, well, then absolutely they should have stopped her.
But the criminal activity, alleged criminal activity, was her trying to ram a vehicle into an officer, and that's not at all clear by
This was not a peaceful protest. And meanwhile, she's also involved in doxing these ICE agents. So what they do is publish. This is what happened, with the IRA to the great British soldiers back in the 70s and 80s. They would put their pictures on posters and say, "Man wanted," or wanted posters. That it's criminal what they're doing, and so this is bound to happen when it's encouraged by the progressive left.
I'll just say again, as a parent, just pick your battles. You've got 3 kids at home. Why are you going down and getting involved in that? Pick your battles. I'm not saying don't protest ICE if that's what you think. If you think their behaviour not fascist, fine, but
protest. That's fine.
Yeah, whatever. With me now is the founder of Global Security and Investigative Services, Dean Golemis. Dean, good evening. Thanks for your company. What's your take on this whole sorry affair?
Well, thanks for having me. Getting back to Angelina saying that they should shoot in the leg or they should shoot in the shoulder, that's patently ridiculous if you know anything about law enforcement and training and firing a handgun under duress. Absolutely, all law enforcement officers across the entire United States of America are trained in the same fashion that you shoot for center mass. Shooting a person is actually a very difficult thing to do, especially under stress. So all law enforcement are trained to shoot center mass. That's our training. That muscle memory kicks in a stressful situation like that, and you just shoot for center mass. So it's not a cowboy movie like you see when you're a kid that you can shoot a gun out of somebody's hand. That just doesn't happen. It can't happen. My opinion of this is it's a terrible tragedy. A young woman lost her life. But how the press, mainstream media can paint this is she's an innocent woman going about her day, and she got caught up in a ICE raid and got shot by terrible ICE officers. Simply not the case. This woman was a professional agitator. She was blocking the roadway with her vehicle, and she had done that numerous times throughout the day, obstructing ICE agents from proceeding and doing their business, which is illegal, which is a crime in the United States. It's obstructing governmental administration. That's an arrestable offense. Again, Angelina stated they went up to her car aggressively and opened the door. I believe they were trying to effect an arrest for obstructing their operation. She then attempted to flee or strike the officer, depending on whose story you believe. Either way, the officer was in the path of the vehicle. He drew his weapon and fired. I think that was a reasonable decision. It's a terrible decision. I'm sure he's not happy about it. If you go to that video and you watch the beginning, he approaches the car not with his gun out, with his cell phone, and he's videoing the incident. He had no intention of shooting that woman. It was a terrible tragedy.
Yeah.
And it was a tragedy.
Yeah, I think Dean. I think there's a lot of nuance to this incident. I don't think there's a yes, she was wrong, he was right. Maybe it was the case that the agent thought, and it looks like that from the video, that she was aiming her car at him. And likewise, she maybe got scared when her car was being surrounded by ICE agents and she tried to drive off, but you can see the wheel spinning in the ice. She couldn't get traction. So I think there's some nuance to it. But I think my point stands. As a parent, I can only comment as a parent, just pick your battles. Go home to your kids, but it's far too late for that now. A poor woman's lost her life. Dean, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it. That's Dean Golemis, the founder of Global Security and Investigative Services. gbnews.com/your say. Let me know what you think about that. Somebody has said, sounds fair enough, Ben. I think you're being sarcastic here. Sounds fair enough, Ben. Go down to protest and take 3 to the head. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think it's a lot more, as I said, nuanced than that.